Well, hello, David, and thank you for joining me today for our new feature on Facebook, which is called Community Corner. In Community Corner, every week I'm going to interview a different person that lives or works in Dundonald, just to highlight some of the amazing work that happens locally. David, can you just share with people who you are and where you work?
Yes, of course, Lynsey. Thank you very much. My name is David Bandeira. I've lived in Dundonald now for just over a little over 30 years.
Oh, wow.
People might possibly recognise me from walking my little dog Poppy constantly around the village. When I'm not out walking the dog, my time is spent working up at Dundonald House nursing home.
Thank you, David. Now, I got to know you when we came up as a church to provide the worship services to the residents of Dundonald.
Absolutely.
And it was really great that you really welcomed and encouraged us and helped the residents to join in the worship too. We know that all the care home workers and staff at Dundonald House have been working especially hard in the last couple of months. Can you tell us what it's been like for residents and staff being at Dundonald House during this coronavirus period?
Yes, absolutely, and thanks for giving me the opportunity to share my thoughts with you and the wider community. It's been quite difficult. It's been quite difficult for the residents and for the staff and for the families of residents. Obviously, we suspended non-essential visits to the care home very early on at the start of the pandemic. But I think the one thing that we've tried to do is to try and maintain a sense of normality for our residents on the day-to-day goings on at Dundonald House. So on that level, nothing has really changed. Everything is just ticking over as it did before the COVID crisis. Sadly, we don't have visits from yourselves or visits from entertainers or entertainment. We did welcome the couple of visits from yourself and your family and the trumpet, which certainly made a good impression when you were very kindly clapping for carers. But I think spirits have remained high. What has changed is how we have to care for our residents now. Now, more than ever, on a one-to-one basis, and obviously as a staff team we are in full PPE, which is very warm to wear in this weather, but very essential, along with social distancing. Our management team, Anne, Ruth, Karen and Stephen, they've put together in accordance with the Scottish Government guidelines, a very robust policy and guidelines for us to follow around PPE and social distancing. And we have had good training as a staff team on that, enabling us to deliver care at the point of contact in a as risk-free environment as we possibly can. But the one thing that's really surprised me, Lynsey, is the resilience of the residents, and they're not fazed by the mask, the visor, the gloves, the apron. It's just become part of normal everyday life at Dundonald House, and that really has that's surprised me, that nobody's been frightened of that look, because it is quite imposing. So really, that's where we are.
That's really good to know, because I often felt that, well, how are the residents able to see that you're smiling and they're not getting any of the facial expression? But it's just become, you've been wearing it for so long now that they're just become used to it, I guess. And
yes, and whilst you can't smile, you can still laugh.
Yeah.
And you can still chat, and I'm quite good at that, Lynsey.
Yeah, like me.
So chatter, and a flick of the eyes is good. But I do take the point. It's very hard for them, but they have done incredibly well.
So could you tell people, David, how you and the staff at the home what have you been doing to keep the residents physically and mentally well, especially because we know, as you say, they haven't got the usual visitors coming in, they haven't got their friends or family coming in. So how have you been looking after their mental and physical well-being?
Yes, that's the biggest void at the moment during the coronavirus crisis, is the lack of visitors and family and friends to our home. Dundonald House is a home. First and foremost, it's each resident's home, and anybody's welcome any time of the day. Well, that was the norm. We have a new norm now at the moment. So we're able, through technology, to keep in touch with families and friends of residents using Zoom, using social media. One thing that I mentioned already we've tried to do is to maintain normality. A good example would be residents' birthdays. So we've still been having socially distanced birthday parties, even though residents are encouraged to stay in their rooms as part of social distancing. We have been coming together safely for birthday parties. One thing that's changed dramatically for me at Dundonald House is, before lockdown, I worked as part of the activities team. When we locked down and the virus took a hold in the country in general, because of a shortfall, I volunteered to work on the night duty. So that's been a major change in my routine. It's turned my world upside down. But what a privilege it is to work with people through the night, where your job is to promote sleep and well-being, to create a peaceful environment before bedtime, a calming environment, and the same again when they're waking on a morning. One thing that we have done on the terrace level, an interest of mine, is gardening, and we have done some late evening socially distanced pot gardening on the terrace level, which the residents have enjoyed. And the plants that we've been able to put in, of course, we can water them throughout the summer. So that's been an activity. A lot of one-to-ones in residents' rooms, with reassurance, with games, with chat, with laughter, and just trying to keep everybody as normal as possible.
Yeah, that sounds wonderful, David.
I think as well, Lynsey, sorry, I think by nature I've noticed that from the management to the nurses to the care staff, I think we're all trying to put a little bit more in, and a little bit more chat, and take a little bit more time for that cup of tea and that listening ear, or that gentle reassurance, and that's made a difference, I think.
That's so lovely. And I think what I've been talking to some of the parishioners who have loved ones in Dundonald House, and obviously for some of them it has been quite a hard time. They've just been separated for the first time in their married life, and now they can't even go and visit their husband or their wife, and it is really distressing for them. But each one of them has said that what's kept them going is knowing that the care staff that are working at Dundonald House are caring and loving their loved one in a way that they know that they're cared for. That they know they can't be there, but they know when they speak to them on the phone that they sound happy and
Absolutely.
they're content, and they know that they're getting a really high level of care. And I think for somebody that can't see their husband or their wife or their mum or their dad, knowing that somebody else is caring for your loved one with such high regard is priceless.
Yes, certainly anybody that I've bumped into while I've been out and about with the dog who has a relative or a friend in Dundonald House, I've been happy to stop and take the time and chat with them and reassure them that all is well, and the residents are happy in the current circumstances.
David, finally, I know you're a man of faith.
I am.
I've forgiven you that you don't worship at Dundonald Parish Church, but that's okay. We still accept you as a brother in Christ. So, David, with your strong faith, how have you coped in these times of uncertainty and change right now?
That's a very good question, Lynsey. These times of uncertainty and of change have been very relevant to me personally, because I did sadly lose my dear mum, Kathleen, on the 16th of May this year, in the middle of the coronavirus crisis. So that in itself has tested my faith and my resolve. I think one of the things that has helped me through in uncertainty is the constant of having my work at Dundonald House, and certainly the camaraderie and the close friendship of the colleagues that I have been working through the night with. That really has been quite a rock, especially when I haven't been able to see my normal circle of friends or my own church friends at Seagate. Mm-hmm. That has been a constant, and that has really helped me. I think being a person of faith, it really is about trust. Not what we can see, but what we know we can trust in. And I've put my trust in the Lord totally. I firmly believe that He has and is guiding me and will support me through, yes, the corona issues, but also the grief and the loss that I am feeling at the moment. The Lord's hand is continually on my shoulder. I know that, and that helps me through. Also, well, I'm fortunate, and we're fortunate at Dundonald House, because you as a congregation, I know, have been praying for us continually. And we've also had the benefit of my church, Seagate in Troon, praying for me and praying for everybody in Dundonald House. Mm-hmm. So really it's that faith and that trust and that certainty that has focused me and kept me going during what has been the hardest 6 weeks of my life.
Such a difficult time to have lost your mum, David. I know
it is.
A lot of other folks in the village have lost loved ones at
Absolutely.
This time, and the restrictions.
My heart goes out to them, Lynsey. My heart goes out to each and every person who's lost a loved one. It's hard enough in normal times. It's made even harder with rules and regulations that for safety you have to adhere to and follow. But I've been fortunate that I have a fantastic church supporting me. I have a great team at work to work with and to support me. And above all else, I have the love of Christ working with me.
Oh, praise God, David. Now, you
Absolutely.
wanted to end our wee interview with a reading. Shall I hand over to you?
It's not a reading. It's just an excerpt from a poem by Mary Louise Haskin, and I think it sums up the mood at the moment. I'll just read a few lines. I said to the man who stood at the gate, "Give me a light that I may tread safely into the unknown." And he replied, "Go out into the darkness and put your hand into the hand of God. That shall be to you better than light and safer than a known way." I think that sums it up.
It's beautiful. Thank you so much, David, for sharing that with us. Do you know, I think this time for many people has been a reawakening of God. Life got so busy for so many people, and
Absolutely.
What this pandemic, one of the positive things that have come out of it is it has slowed some people way down, and it's taken away a lot of distractions and a lot of busyness. And with that all being peeled away, people are remembering that ultimately we have God, And with God in our life and God being our strength and our refuge, he can help us in all times. And I think that has been my biggest comfort in this whole time, is seeing God reawaken people back to his presence. And that's my continual prayer, that people will be reminded that they're not alone, and that they
Absolutely.
can face anything if they have the strength of God with them. So David,
Hallelujah.
thank you so
Thank
much for
you very
joining
much.
with us.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Oh, and I look forward to seeing you out and about walking. What's the wee dog called?
Poppy, and I look
Poppy.
forward to seeing you and your congregation back at Dundonald House, hopefully in the not too distant future.
Well,
Thank
bye
you,
for now,
Lynsey.
David. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.